Are you? Welcome to this week's episode of Elevate Your Business. So, for those of you that are new to the group, hi, I'm Joanne O'Halloran. I'm a business success coach, and I show female entrepreneurs, specifically service based entrepreneurs, so coaches, consultants, holistic therapists, how to build a profitable and sustainable business that will work in the long term and not just short term fixes. Today, what we're going to have a look at though is how do you always make decisions from a place of empowerment? And what that looks like, what that means, and how you can actually embody it so that you know that you're always doing it. There's always a lot of talk out there about, female empowerment, responsibility, decision making, habits, and they all come together. Each of them are super important. But how do you get to a point where you're always operating from a place of empowerment and that the things that are going on in the world, or maybe the things that are going on in your life, are not actually influencing and determining the decisions that you make? And there's something really cool that I've been exploring over the last year and a half now at this stage. I've done personal development since 2020. I was always into it before that, but I only ever really dabbled in it. But I've been doing it consistently since 2020. But in the last kind of 18-ish months, I've gone into a deep dive personal development, and it's completely transformed not only my business but my life too, in many different ways, between like my relationship with Leah, my relationship with like my mum, and my friendships, being able to meet Robert. Like none of that would have happened if I hadn't have done this deep dive. And most people kind of shy away from doing it, or put it as something on a to-do list that you'll get back to later, or only do surface level pieces with it. But there's so much more to it, and the more I dabble into it, the more I can see, and actually even I can see who I'm surrounding myself with. Like the most successful people in their industries all do this, and they do it consistently. They don't just do it like a little bit and then come back to it later. And it's not just about doing meditations. It's not just about doing, your journaling and your gratitudes. That's part of it, but it's so much more than that. So I want to go through with you today ways that you can actually do this so that you're always sitting in a place of empowerment, and that you know that the decisions that you're making are ones that will actually benefit you. Because, like, put it this way, how often do you have a situation in front of you and you know what decision you should be making, but you avoid it? Like you just ignore it. Like you don't even say it out loud. You'll say it in your head, but you won't even say it out loud. Or if you find that there's a situation that you're consistently complaining about, but you do nothing about it, that's not making a decision from a place of empowerment. So I want to just talk to you a little bit about how that looks, how you can step into it for yourself, and then how do you make it continuous in your life, because that's the fun bit. So empowerment really means that we are we understand. So I'll take me. I understand that everything that is in my life and everything that's not in my life, I am responsible for, which means that I choose what comes into my life and what's already in my life and what leaves my life. And this is everything down to, you know, how my health would be, how my finances would be, how my business would be, how my relationships would be. I am responsible for all of that. There's a massive difference between taking responsibility and being responsible. So this is what I've really been exploring over the last, well, particularly since January of this year. And we flip flop between the two. Like, there's no point in me saying that I always stand in full responsibility. I don't. I flip flop between the two. But I've learned really cool techniques to help support me and be more consistent in being in a place of empowerment. And it's fun, right? It wasn't always fun. I had to release a lot of stuff for it to be fun, but now it's fun because I love the whole term of being curious, and I'm curious as to why that happened, curious how this came about. And you can choose to do this too. So being in a place of empowerment means that you're not complaining about what's happening to you. You're focused on, well, what can you do to change it? So what is it that you want, and what can you do to change it? It means that we're not blaming other people or other things, so circumstances, for what we have in our lives right now. So the most obvious one being, like particularly if you're in Ireland, the talk about the cost of living crisis. It's interesting. Right? So that's the only word I'm going to use. It's interesting, but it's also interesting to see the impact that it has on people's lives. So if you're blaming that for what you have in your life right now, you're not being in responsibility and you're not sitting in empowerment. We don't have shame. So we don't allow circumstances or other people's opinions to influence any shame or guilt that we feel on ourselves. So, like, if you've had an argument with somebody, or if you've made a decision, right, that's right for you, and people operate from a place of hurt and say mean things to you, that we don't take on the shame of that because of the decision that we've made. We stand in a place of empowerment and understand that complaining, blaming, shaming, guilt actually just keep us stuck. It's not empowering. It's actually just holding us back completely. Now, is it easy to stand in responsibility? No, because we hold trauma, right? We hold situations that have happened to us. So this is why going deep dive into personal development and consistently releasing helps that. It's like, the best way you might have heard me saying this before, it's like an onion, right? You will peel back the layers of an onion, and just as you think, you figured it out, boom, something else happens, and then there's another layer. But as you go through this, you are equipped with the information, the knowledge, and the tools to allow you to move past it. So ask yourself this. Think of a situation that's happening in your life right now that you're just complaining about all the time. You're just complaining about it. If somebody will listen, you're talking about it. You're running the story around and around and around in your head. You might have even picked up the phone to tell somebody about it. You might have put off making a decision because of this particular situation. Ask yourself this. If you chose to not complain about it and go, okay, where am I responsible for this happening? What have I done about it? And what could I choose from a place of empowerment? What can I choose so that I can move forward to get what I want? How different would your life be? It was funny, I was having a conversation with a client this morning, and this is quite common, right? So if this is know that this is quite common until you make a decision, right? Was like, this is hard, it's too hard, everything's hard, life is hard, everything's hard, which may be the current reality. But for as long as, if that's your story, and for as long as you choose to see things as hard, they will always be hard. But the reason they're actually hard is because we're refusing to look at what's making it hard and then making a decision so it doesn't have to be hard anymore. So let me give you an example. I know. I'm going to give you a personal example, right? In my last relationship, I covered up everything that was going on. So it was quite toxic in terms of, actually, do you know what? I'm going to say it straight out. It was abusive, but it was abusive in terms of, like control, how I'd be spoken to. But I chose to ignore that because there was another condition there. And I allowed that to continue. I chose to stay in that situation, but it meant that I found life hard because I wasn't comfortable going to family events. I hated when anybody had asked me a question because I dreaded how I was going to formulate an answer that wouldn't raise more questions. It was challenging coming home because I knew there was going to be an argument over something and nothing. And that was a cycle that I was in. It was impacting my relationship with Leah. It was impacting my relationship with my family because I was lying to them. It was impacting my relationship with my friends because I was also lying to them. So everything felt really hard. Like work felt hard, home felt hard, relationship felt hard, everything was hard. But it's because I was choosing to not make a decision. The decision that I ultimately needed to make was to leave that relationship. But I didn't want to. So what did I have to recognize in order for me to be able to leave that decision? Most people will tell you it's, well, where's your self-worth in that? That's great. But when your self-worth's in the toilet, that's not what you get to realize. What I had to realize was I couldn't have the life that I wanted, and I would never have a good relationship with my own daughter if I did not leave that. That was the realization I came to get to that. That decision felt really hard. Why does it feel really hard? Because you think about all the things that you're losing. You think about all the conversations that you feel you have to have. You think about all the things that other people are going to say to you, what other people are going to think about it. What does it mean financially? What does it mean? Like the list goes on, right? The list goes on. So when we decide that things are hard, they are hard. 100% they're hard. But you know what the fun thing is? As human beings, and particularly as women, I'm going to say it, we are super resourceful. We will figure shit out, right? We always figure stuff out. It's impossible for us not to figure stuff out because we're built that way. Like, if we are faced with a problem, we will find a solution. So, if there's something right now that you feel is hard, what do you need to let go of so that you can have what you want? Where are you complaining about something? Where are you placing blame? The blame could be on yourself. It doesn't even need to be on somebody or something else. Where are you holding shame? So it's if you write all them down and then get curious about it and go, okay, why am I holding blame? Why am I holding shame? Like super, super curious about it. Why do I feel guilty about that? Release it. So as in, I'm a massive fan of forgiveness letters. I wholeheartedly swear by them. I do them consistently. I'm all about them. And then get really curious and go, okay, what do I actually want in this situation? Who do I need support from to move past it and to get what I want? And what do I need support with? They're always the questions that we refuse to answer. So like think about it in your business right now. I know I gave you a personal example there, but think about it in your business right now. Like let's take an obvious one. If you're not making consistent sales, or maybe you're drip feeding sales, so like you might have some months where you have 3 sales and then the next month you're like, I've got none, and now all of a sudden I can't pay my bills, right? So it's being drip fed and it's not consistent. Are you complaining about that? If yes, great. Now get curious about it and go, okay, what am I complaining about? What am I choosing? So am I choosing Netflix? Am I choosing like what excuses am I choosing? Am I choosing to not ask for help with something? Am I choosing to not ask for help with kids? Am I choosing to, I don't know, not get rid of some subscription so that I have money to do something else? And then who do I need support from, and what do I need support with to make it happen? That's when we're standing in responsibility. That's when we understand that we create everything that's around us. There is, and you know, when people talk about how everything that you need is inside of you, this is what they're talking about. That when you stand in full responsibility, and when you do things from a place of empowerment, there's no question about whether or not if something will happen. It will, because you're the creator. You're creating it. You're making it happen because you make the decisions to make it happen. You put the wheels in motion to make it happen. That doesn't mean that you need to know the answer for everything. You've just got to make the decisions. So, and it's fascinating because I'm serious. As I continue to go through this journey, and as I go deeper and deeper into personal development, growth, expansion, leadership, I'm surrounding myself with the top leaders in business. That's not a coincidence. It also wasn't a conscious decision, but it was like, I'm choosing to get really curious about how I behave in my life, how things happen for me, to me, because nothing happens to me, but to me, and how am I creating that? What decisions am I making? What habits do I have in place? What am I avoiding? What am I doing? What am I not doing? Because sometimes we sit in comfortable things as well, or what we perceive to be comfortable, so that we don't have to make a decision, because it's easier to be comfortable. But yet then we complain about not getting what we want. So I want you to get really curious today that anything that you complain about, anything that you feel shame about, anything that you feel guilt about, anything that you blame somebody else about or blame something else about, first things first, know that you are 100% responsible for everything that is in your life and isn't in your life. You now get to make a decision as to what is it that you need to let go of. So if you're complaining about something, what do you need to let go of? What decision do you need to make? What do you need to bring awareness to? And what do you need to take action on? Because you will have heard me saying this before. Awareness is one thing. Acceptance is the next. So you've got to accept this. And then you've got to take action. You can't do one or the other, like, or two of them. You've got to do all three together. So awareness, acceptance, and action. And watch what will change. Like, think about, that one thing that you've been avoiding. If you made that decision today, what would things look like tomorrow, or the day after, or the day after, or the day after that? Or if you made Like, one of the biggest things that people don't want to do is invest, right? Like, invest in anything. We don't want to invest in ourselves, but yet, we'll buy a car, we'll go out for dinner, like we'll spend money on a phone, but we won't invest in ourselves. But if you were to make that decision today, right? So if you were to say, okay, I want to get my health back on track, or I want to be fit, I want to be healthy, and you're choosing to not do anything about it, where could you choose to invest in the support that would actually get you over the line with it? But what excuses are you putting in the way? I'm totally guilty of that. I did that during COVID, made every excuse under the sun to not do it because I didn't have the gym. Who cares about the gym? That's a physical building that I go to. What's that have to do with anything? But what excuses do we make? What are we blaming for not having what we want? So get curious. See what you need to bring awareness to. So where are you complaining, blaming, shaming, guilt? Where do you need to get curious about it? What do you need to bring awareness to? What do you need to accept? And then where do you get to take action? Like immediate action. Not sit and think about it, but where do you get to take immediate action? And then let me know below what you're going to do, and then let me know as well what changes for you. See you soon.